Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, guys. So here I am. I've got my everything ready. I've got my tools ready. Got my pencils here. Got my brush, and I've got my little extra bits that I might need. Not to forget little froggy sharpener. And I've also got Shadow, who's been annoying me all morning, so you'll probably hear her in the background. She's a Bengal cat somewhere. She's being a mischief maker right now and getting into things she shouldn't be. So how is everybody? Hi, guys. There's Shadow. Hi, Shadow. She's actually climbing on the furniture around me right now, so we could be in for some trouble with her today. So sorry for the distraction. Yes, you. We're talking about you. So just before we start, we've got a couple of people saying, hi, Jackie. Hi, guys. They can't find details. So I'll read out the colors I've got. Oh, hang on. First one I'm going to be using is Caput Mortuum Violet. Come on, somebody, please. How do you say that? Anyway, it is number 263, and it's a brown violet brown color. I have popped the color list of all of the Polychromos pencils up on the event page. So if you don't have Polychromos pencils, you can look at that list and substitute for your own brands. And I'm going to have to throw something at the cat, I think, because she's just going to drive us nuts. And it's going to be loud. She thinks it's a game now, so it's time to play. Anyway, so that's the first pencil we've got. Second one I'm using is Red Violet. So the Red Violet is number 194. And then we've got Light Red Violet, which is 135. You know what I never actually understood with some of these pencil brands is why don't they just put them in number order? It's just crazy. But anyway, so that's Red Violet, which is another real nice violet color. And then I've got Manganese Violet, which is 160. Can't really see it there, can we? But I've also got my white Prismacolor in case I need it, my white gel pen, my little eraser, and my Caran D'Ache full blender, which is almost non-existent, so it's in my pencil extender, and then my sharpener. So just a little note before we get started. Next week's video will be the day after. We'll be doing it on my Friday, which for a lot of you I think is Thursday. So just keep your eye out for that. It will be the following day, not the Thursday. I had something planned for each of the Fridays this last week and this week, so that's why we're not doing it on the Friday. And one of those is Jackie's birthday. Yay, tomorrow. So exciting. So make sure that when I post up the link for the live video next week that you put a little bell there so that you click your little notification bell or whatever there is when you get that, just to remind you that it is the following day. And I will post that up usually the day before I go live, so you should be able to see that in the event. So for those that are new, why am I so blurry there? Let me just see if I can fix that up for you guys. If you're new and you weren't here for last week's live color along, it is in the link below, so check the description out. There's lots of information in there. We've got the link for the event, also the link for my Facebook group. If you are wanting to join the Facebook group, make sure you answer the 3 questions. I've had so many people coming and trying to join but not answering questions. So I'd really like to get to know you before we start and make sure that you're willing to read the rules and things like that as well. So make sure you do that. It is in the description, as I said. Also, Christine, Karen, thank you so much for this beautiful image. We're very impressed by your work and your lovely images that have been coming out. And if you would like to get more info on her social media stuff or her group, her Etsy page, all of that stuff is in the description as well. So make sure you check it out. I think that's everything that I really, really want to say. Somebody's actually put up there. So what is it? Caput Mortuum. It means... Perfect. Thank you for that. So I was saying it right. Caput Mortuum. Okay, cool. Sounds a little bit like death, but anyway. They are beautiful colors. I quite like these colors. They're really rich, deep, purpley red colors. Now, I was going to go for maybe red hair, but I've decided to go with the purple because I want to do the berries quite red, so they'll stand apart from each other. I don't want them to blend into each other, so we'll do that. And we'll probably take up the whole hour to do the berries and the leaves next week, and then we'll finish off the basket and the background the following week. So if you haven't done grayscale coloring before, this is grayscale, which is an image taken, a black and white image taken of an original coloring. So you can see through here, there's still lines and things like that through there because of the texture of the pencils that we use and things like that. I really like this style of grayscale. I think there's a couple more artists that I really like that do this type of a grayscale picture, which I really love. So the difference between this and a normal line art image is obviously that this grey is marked out here for you in this one. So there's not as much work, and there's not as much work in figuring out where things go, like shadows and things like that as well. So all good. So I'm kind of peeking at the notes here as I go. It's Caput Mortuum Violet. So there's actually 3 words in that, and it's a brown. Somebody just can't find it. That's it there, and it's a brown violet color. Yes, they're not in order. So I actually changed the order of my Polychromos pencils and put them in. I tried to put them in as much of a color order as I could because, yeah, they're not in order. Are we ready to start? Hi, Megan. Thanks for coming. I think that's everything. Hello. I'm just checking now. Who have we got? Anne. Hi, Anne. Sylvie, Randy. Hi, guys. Hello. Hi. Okay, so time now I've done that. I'm going to start. So we're going to start with the darkest color, which is the Caput Mortuum. Violet, so 263. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use fairly medium pressure. I'm not going to push too hard, but I'm going to be doing a couple of layers, so probably just 2. But let's get started. So I'm just going to use the pencil to do some texture first through the hair. So you can see already that we've got let me just move in a little bit now that I'm starting. Just zoom in. Hello. Wow. My video output is not that great on the other side of this, but thankfully Shadows left us alone. Okay. There we go. All right. So I've got my pencil. It's nice and sharp. I've already sharpened them. I'm going to go into the shadow areas. I'll start just here in the middle of the hair because there's already a shadow area there. But what we're actually going to do is we're actually going to put texture through the hair. We're not just going to color it flat like we have here in the face area. We're going to come in here and we're going to put some lines. So we're going to start in these dark sections and we're just going to line I'll flick my pencil out and create lines through there. So that's sort of from the middle section of the hair. I'm going to come back the other side as well and do the same thing. So just flicking out from that dark section. So we're going to do that from every shadow area. So from the middle of the head here, we're going to come out and just flick that pencil. I'm kind of curving it a bit too to follow the hairline because we want to keep that nice and natural. We don't want to have hair sticking out everywhere. So just flicking that just like that. Okay, so we're not going to make them all exactly the same length either. So I haven't made them, some of them are, you can see them in the lighter area, some of them are longer and some of them are shorter. So they're sort of random, they're not going to be all in the same line. Otherwise we're going to get a direct cut line across the highlight and it's going to look kind of strange and we want it to look more natural. So with the grayscale already being done, it's already giving you the idea of how there's not just all light in one spot. There's actually depth in, or texture and depth in these other areas as well. So I'm just going to continue on and fill out these areas. So it just here, there's already a fair bit of gray. So I'm going to make sure that I come in here as well, do some flicks up towards that light area and also do some down. So I'm just going to do that all over now. But we've got a few visitors now. Okay, I've got a squeaky chair and I'm just going to move there and it squeaks as I move. I'm in the process of getting my camera moved, but you know what husbands are like, hey? Yeah, say they're gonna and then they don't. In all fairness, he's very busy, so. All right, just flicking out. This part here is quite dark, but I still want to put a little bit of the lighter colors in later on. So I'm still going to do the same thing, just flick. There's a darker area. I'm just going to flick from there. So what we're going to do is gradually build up the texture of the hair and make it kind of look a little bit more realistic by adding in these little strands of hair. I did go in with my little mono, what is it called? My little mono zero eraser, the Tombow one. I went into all of the hair and actually rubbed out all of the pencil from the skin that went over it as well, just so that we could come back in with these hair colors and make sure that was nice and clear. Just like that. All right. I think Shadow's finally settled down. I think she's going to go to bed now. Nope. She's very persistent today, isn't she? Shadow, please. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you can see the color there that I'm doing. I can just have a play with the brightness a tiny bit for you and see if we can, it doesn't really make much of a difference, but lighten it up there for you. As we start to add color on, like with the skin, you'll start to see it gradually building up and you'll start to see that color more vibrantly once that happens too. She does today. She always wants the last word, I tell you. Okay, so I'm just going to keep doing this until we cover up all of the shadow areas with some texture or lines. So some lines are, as I said, really long. I'm meeting up from the shadow area just here. There's some lines in here. I'm just going to meet up from that shadow area up towards that. And then I might just extend that a little bit further so it comes up. So you'll be able to see this color coming up through some of those highlights. If your pencil blunt's off a little bit, you will need to sharpen it because you want to keep those lines nice and thin so that you can see that texture. With Polychromos, it's not quite so bad. The pencils tend to stay sharp for a lot longer than Prismacolors, so even though it's quite dark down in this area here, I'm going to still try to flick out, create that little bit of texture, because you'll still be able to see that color over that gray, or black I should say there. Some of these lines I'm following all the way up. Just going to flick, there's a little section in here that's already grayed off a bit. I'm just going to flick out towards that highlight area on that side and then back towards the other. I'm starting to come down here. I just noticed up the top here before I do that though, this bit here needed a little bit more. If you miss anything, it doesn't matter because we're going to do another layer of the darker colors just to accentuate those shadows. You're just flicking that pencil, so heavy-handed at the start and then flicking it outwards, or on an angle if it's on an angle. Just coming back down towards the highlight on this side again. Okay. So this bit here, you can see where it's quite sharp. I just want to make sure that I bring those lines out. I don't want them to be sharp like that. I want them to be soft and jagged. Just underneath this part here is quite dark. I'm just going to make sure that I line that in. Now I might just turn it on the side there and just work on this right side of the face. Just got to try and make sure I stay in the camera there for you. All right. Got it back again there. The shadow has settled for now. We'll just see how it goes. So just flicking out, and I'm kind of curving that as well to get the same curve of the hair. We want to follow the natural flow of the hair. If you just did them all over the place, it's not going to look quite as good as following the line. I think I've played with my chair. I'm not on a very good angle here. That happens with me. I move it to a different room and table height and everything's different. So I'm going to come back onto the other side there as well, just flicking. Just like that. So we've almost finished on this side. I just want to just bring, there's a little bit of a line through here. I'm just going to bring that down and around. I'm just flicking that way and then coming back the other way. We're always creating a bit of a highlight in each section. There's a little bit of skin color just here. I'm just going to erase that off a little bit so that this color stands out nicely. It's just a little bit shiny. My pencil's getting a little bit blunt now on the end too, so I might sharpen that up again. So Jackie and I actually found these little froggies on eBay, the Deli brand, just and also after that I found some on Wish. So the brand is everywhere and they're really cheap, but I mean, look how sharp that's come up. Just coming up from those darker sections and bringing them towards the light. So turn that back around to face me. So there's just a little bit of a dip or a shadow there. I'm just going to create, pull that up to towards the top, just so that those areas aren't quite so large, and we'll be able to put a little bit more texture through there. Thanks, Christina. Okay. We're just coming up one side and then back down the other. And making sure to grab these little strands of hair off the side here as well. And I'm curving the pencil round so that it follows that shape. Back down this way. Back up. I'm not sure if that's actually a whole piece of hair, if it's two with a gap, but I think they might make it a gap. And because it's quite dark there, it is hard to tell. It sort of looks like it could be like the background. I'll see how it looks once we've started to add in that color. So all the way down the bottom here. All right. What do you guys think? I think it's background. It is really hard to tell there, but If you feel you want to color it as hair, that's fine. There's like a little gap in here and I'm not really sure, so I'm just going to leave it as background. It would look quite nice having some background through there anyway. Okay, I think that side's done. I'm happy with that. I'll just zoom out a little bit so you can see what it looks like further away. So you can see we're starting to fill out these shadow areas in here. We've got our highlights starting to build up already. And we want to just continue that all the way through. So I'll start back on this side again now. There's just a bit of a shadow there, so I'm just coming back down. Back up. I just finished a Jasmine Beckett grayscale on my channel this week. There's a full video on Patreon as well, but it is quite a dark grayscale, and I ended up using markers. It came out really nice, very realistic. So just around these shadow areas, I'm making sure that I make that quite dark in there and then flick out from that area. Sort of lining around it to make sure that I don't leave any gaps there. And just still flicking out towards the berries. I'm going to come up here. There's a little bit of a gap that's going to help us to create some more texture. Go that way. I'm just going to go, there's no shadow there, but just around the berries, I'm just going to go around them, creating a bit of a shadow there. And I'm just going to flick out from there as well. There's a little bit of a stem tucked behind her ear there. Just going around the berry. And I'm just going to keep creating lines. Making sure I get in between as well. And there's some twigs in the back there, which I'll come back in over with brown. So I'm just going to leave those spots. I'll just zoom in as far as I can so you can see it. So there's like a little bit of a twig just coming off there and also down there and also around that area there. So there'll be a darker brown when we come back in and do our berries. And I'm just going to go make sure that these areas around those are filled in as well. So just flicking from the shadow. Just like that. Coming underneath the ear. Lining it out first. And then just flicking out. How boring am I? I just keep flicking. I actually love hair. It's time consuming but extremely therapeutic when you're not wanting to think about much. So take your time. So here we've got, I'll just go back on the camera. I'll just zoom that back out a tiny bit now. We've gone around that darker area. Just here you can see that it's looking quite straight across. I want to make sure I bring some of those down so that it's not just one line across. So you're going to get a treat because we're going to do a plait as well as sort of wavy hair here. It's all mesmerizing. I'll try and whisper and we can have some, what is it, ASMR? Some, you can hear the pencil flicking away on the paper. All right. So from the berries again, I'm making sure that I go around them because we want shadows there. So in those really dark areas, I might come back in later on with a darker brown just to make sure that they're dark enough and deep enough as well. One of those extremely satisfying videos, hey? So there's another sort of shadow area that's been marked out there. So we're already starting to see texture with those pencil strokes coming down. Okay, I've missed a little strand at the back here. I'm just going to make sure I grab that. So what we're creating by doing this is we're creating dips, valleys, and then mountains and highlights. So the hair looks kind of wavy. You can see shiny sections and dark sections. Someone just said we need music playing in the background. The yeah, well, if there wasn't all those copyright laws with YouTube, we probably could have done that. All right, I'm just going to turn on an angle again so I can get a better flicking motion. Quite a dark section in there, so so just here, there's, I'll do it straight on so you can see it's quite light in here. So this area here will be more purple as I bring in the purple. So we're going to start on the braid now. I'm going to go on one angle and then go to the other. So just going towards the middle, you can see where Christine's already put in the highlight section. So we're going to sort of follow that along. There's a few that were new to grayscale. I'm hoping that this will spark a love of it. If you guys didn't see the top 10 this week, I did have a little special mention too for 11-year-old girl that followed the skin tutorial last week's live video. So I popped that up because she finished the picture with the rest of her own colouring. Okay. Yes, she was very talented. It's nice to see that parents encourage their kids to give it a go. It's funny. I had an event this week, and the amount of people that when I told them what I do, a lot of people are like, "Oh, for kids, coloring for kids." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. It's for adults." But I love that we have some children following us along as well. It's great. It's amazing how naive some people can be, though. So just coming down to these little strands of hair down here, just making sure I grab those. And I'm making sure that I keep apart or differentiate between the basket rope there and her hair. That's a little bit of hair there. How cool does that look now with the shadows and the hair filled out? Looking good. I think I've almost finished with the first colour. Oh, only 3 more to go. Oh, compilation video, that one. Know how many times I've dropped my pencil or broken it on camera? Still got people coming in. Hi. All right, almost done. So make sure that you've used the grayscale sections now to mark out all of your shadows and that you're happy with where they are. We can come back in afterwards just to make sure that they're nice and deep, especially in these really dark curvy sections in here. So I'll just zoom out so you can see that. So far, it kind of looks a burgundy red. So we're going to go in with some of the purpley colours now. So I've got Red Violet, which is 194. Nice and sharp again. And we're just going to repeat exactly what we did over the top of the previous colour. But what we're going to do is this time we're not going to go exactly on the same line. So I might not follow the exact lines. And what that will do is that will actually create more texture because it'll look like there's more hair strands. Some of them I'll go over, and the ones that I go over, that I might extend them a little bit longer so they come further out into these highlight areas. So I'm just going to go in now and do that. So just going over in the same area. This time, because we're using a lighter color, we're going to be bringing these strokes a little bit further out towards these white sections. So you'll start to see now the color will start to build up, even though I'm not doing it directly on all of the other strokes. We're sort of going beside them. Sometimes we're going over them. So just keep track of where you are. I'm trying to. Not working very well. Here I am. So starting to build in the grey areas now with this purple colour. Can you see how that's looking? So you can see I've really started to build already that purple colour in this section here. And you won't be able to tell as much at the top because it's a lot darker. And I'm making those lines or those flicks a little bit longer so that we're starting to fill in that white area as well. Hi, Tamara. Just going back down towards the other side. Just here, there's a bit of a twig. I'm just going to go from there, go back up. On this side. Making sure I go into the shadow areas as well and keep filling those out. So this area of hair here was quite dark anyway, but most of that's going to be filled out now. So that front piece of hair there, just underneath. Should be able to tell if you've gone over it or not because you won't be able to see any of the purple yet. So there is still a color difference, so you should be able to see where you've missed going through. So I've just done most of that sort of upper section. And as I zoom out, you should be able to see the color difference. So you can see that that's coming out more purple now than the bottom section. So that's what we're trying to achieve, is just building up the color and texture of the hair. Just come back down now to behind the ear. So who's following along today? We had Kathy last week who posted hers up pretty quick. So exciting seeing all of everybody's interpretation of it, and even different types of pencils and how that's looking as well. So the more layers that we do, the less work we have to do as well. So as these darker areas start to build up, we'll be putting less and less color on each time. So the layers will get quicker and quicker as we go. Just going to turn it on an angle so I can get these bottom pieces down here. I don't know the last time I had a date, but yes, definitely the best date. It's great being able to color along live like this and have a chat and be able to ask questions too as you're going. If something sort of jumps out at you, you can always ask. If I don't get to answer, someone usually does. So I'm really liking the color of this hair. I'm glad we went this instead of red. I have a thing for fashion colored hair. I love, I did a rainbow image last week, the week before, with rainbow colored hair. It just came out amazing. I love hair. So these images that have beautiful long flowing hair, best. Just turned it on an angle again so I can get a better flick on my pencil. So some of these areas down here in the plait will be almost completely covered because they're smaller areas, but we've still got a bit of a highlight in those sections, so we can come back in with that purple and put some through the highlights as well. You can see how that layer took a lot less time than the first layer. Just got to do the right side of the face there. Got a bit of a glitchy camera there. Just gonna zoom out. I've missed the side of the head here. We're going to do this now, but I can see that it's fairly consistent color-wise. We've gone from burgundy now to a real deep purple color. I'm just going to do this side now. We're just flicking from one direction in that shadow there and flicking it out towards those highlights and then coming back on the other side. I try and get these to eventually meet in the middle. If you're using markers, I've got a really great marker video actually, Molly Harrison hair. The whole image is pretty much hair. I've done that with marker. But it's literally the same thing. So just flicking the marker out to get your little flecks of hair. And I think I'm happy with that. And just zoom out. How's she looking? Pretty good. I noticed actually with the live video too that sometimes it lags and you actually have to push the little live button next to the volume again just to help refresh it back again. It depends on what your internet speed is like and things like that as well. Some people were saying that I was way ahead and the comments were going up, but they couldn't see where I was up to. So that's how you can do that. There's a little live button there. So you just click on the live button and it comes up to where we're actually at right now. So the next color I'm using is red violet, or sorry, light red violet, which is 135. And we're going to repeat the same steps. So now we're going to start to come in and fill out these white areas that are in the highlights. We're going to finish off the highlights with a really light violet purple color, but we're going to do most of the area now with this one. So that was the light red violet 135. Let's zoom back in. Hello. Start from the top again. So just flicking out, and this is a completely different purple, so you'll definitely be able to see this coming through now. I think having the different tones as well helps to create a little bit more texture. I just finished another tutorial video, which will be going up probably Friday or maybe Saturday, depends if I get to the flip through video section. But I did brown hair, and in the brown hair I added pink. So it just creates a little bit more texture, it makes it look a little bit more interesting. So this section shouldn't take too long now because we've filled out most of the area. We're just sort of flicking over the top of those darker areas, making sure we've filled out any of the gaps that are in those shadow areas so we don't have too much white coming through. We want to have a little bit of white coming through these highlight sections by the end of it, just to create that highlight effect. But down in the shadow areas there, I'm going to try to cover up as much as I can so that they stay nice and dark. I'll just finish this top section and I'll zoom out from the bottom and you can see the differences. So just flicking that out from the shadows out over the top of those highlight areas now. Still keeping some white spaces because we've still got that lighter color to come in with. So what I might do is, because we're coming close to the time again now, I'll come in with the next color quickly and just show you the top section, and then I'll just finish off the rest. So if you do need to go, you've at least seen that. So just zoom out so you can see what I've done. So I've just done this top layer here. So you can see the color difference now between that and how much it's now building up and looking more like textured hair. You can see the individual strands of hair, and you can see the color change and the depth that's gone through there now. So what I'll do is I'll come in with that Manganese Violet, which is 160, and I'll just finish off this top section here, and then I'll continue on and finish off the rest of it. So if you do need to go, at least you've seen the full hair. And they've got people still coming in anyway, so we're all good. All right, so I'll just zoom back in again, and we'll finish off this last color in this section only, and then I'll continue on with the rest of it, and we'll finish that off. So that was the Manganese Violet. So I'm just going to come over the top of those darker colors now, and I'm bringing it directly over those highlight sections. So we're still going to have some white coming through because we want that highlight and that shiny look. Going back from the top down, just flicking my pencil, following the directional lines, and then coming back up from the shadows. Down and then back up. Okay, I'll just show you how that looks now. I'm really happy with how that's come out now. What I'm going to do is just go back in with that very, very dark, that was the Caput Mortuum Violet, and I'm just going to make sure that those dark sections are nice and dark still. So just going in and just redefining the shadows. Okay, so I've done the top layer of hair. I can go in with the white Prismacolor and just go over the top of some of those white areas just to make sure that they stay white and nice and sharp. So this paper that I've used is quite smooth, so I don't really need to smooth a lot of that out. It's already done. But using the white can help just sort of bring out that highlight a little bit more and smooth off some of those lines so you've still got that texture. I'm trying not to rub over the top of those to blend them in too much. So I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see. So I'm not rubbing them. I'm trying to keep them, I'm flicking, I guess, the white pencil now to keep those lines through there. If you're happy with how it's looking, you could even just go over it with the, I've got a Caran D'Ache full blender here. Just, I've got a tiny little bit of tooth. It's really hard to see here, but there's still a tiny little bit of tooth on the page. I just want to flatten off some of those, but I don't want to change the color. I'm just making sure I clean my blender as I come back in. I have a snoring cat now in the background. She really did get the last word. Okay, so I've actually really happy with that top section, and that's how it should look all over once I've finished. So I'm going to zoom back out a tiny bit, and we're going to continue on with the rest of the hair. So if you do need to go, at least you've seen how that's done now. So we were up to the light red violet, and I'm going to finish off the light red violet over the rest of the hair now. So it might still be another half hour before I finish off the hair. But I prefer to get it finished as much as I can on camera so you can see the final effect. I will scan the image in and pop the finished image up in the event. So if you want to see the close-up finished image, just check that out there. Just flicking from the dark. So this section down here is quite light, but we're going to try and fill in as much as we can. It's going to be nice and light, bright highlighted there. Another way to figure out where the light source is coming from on this grayscale image, because a lot of the light is directly here, so it's coming up here. There's also light coming from this side too. So pretty. I wish I had this. I did have this color hair for a little while. And I did the world's greatest shave. Megan, who was here earlier, she shaved her head, and I colored my whole head with purple. It raised over $1,000. So for the Leukemia Foundation, it was a lot of fun. All right, coming down into the plait now. Plait or braid, whatever. Making sure that those shadow areas are nice and dark still. Just grabbing a little bit of the highlight down here. So I've included the red color in there just to help with the berries, because we're going to be doing red berries. I'll put a tiny bit of purple into the red berries, but we want them to sort of stay sort of separate from each other. And just the other side of the hair here. So I'm still using the light red violet for now. Almost finished with this color. All right. Just coming up to the top of the hair here. How's everyone liking theirs so far? Just making sure I've gone over the top of the head there. I think down here needs a little bit more. If I just zoom out a bit, you'll be able to see, I think that This is pretty good colored in here. But I do think that just down here, just this section here needed a little bit more purple. Just there. So just make sure you're adjusting it and that you've added enough color into all of the areas. I'm pretty happy with that now. So I've got the Manganese Violet, which is 160, and I'm going to go in and finish off that color in the rest of the hair. So I'll start on the top there since I'm already sort of working there. Get that bit done. We've got some It's okay. Mine doesn't look as full. So if it doesn't look as full, make sure you keep your pencil nice and sharp and go back in with another layer of all of the colors. So the more that you build up, obviously I'm using a paper that's got hardly any tooth on it, so I'm not going to need to go in as much to cover up the tooth of the paper. So if you're using a different type of paper, you might need to do a few layers to get the hair to look the same. So don't be afraid to go back in. Keep your pencil sharp so that you keep those nice pencil lines as well. But just keep working on it. Don't just sort of give up and think it doesn't look the same. Keep building it up. Keep layering. Keep doing the individual strokes. And keep flicking that pencil. Oh, she's so pretty. Someone just said that their hair looks like mash if they rush it. It's very true because you want to get these individual strands of hair. Just coming down to this lighter section here now and filling over some of that white. I do want to keep it nice and light though because it is a highlighted section of hair. So I'm going to use my white pencil through there to put in some more white areas through there, or just to lighten up the white areas through there, I should say. So this layer was definitely a lot quicker than the other ones. Just going to use my little mono eraser and just erase some of these leaves that I've gone over. And some of the berries at the top I've gone into a little bit. So I'm just going to rub those out, neaten them up a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to grab my white and just come in and just redo these little highlight sections through here. So just going over the white lines, and I'm flicking like I was before as well. And I'm just softening off the tooth because there was still a little bit of tooth there. So my pencil's nice and sharp. I'm not putting too much pressure because I don't want to break the tip of my pencil, especially with this Prisma White. Just coming in over the top of those very, very white areas that were left. And softening off the edges so they're nice and flat. I think we did a live video with a pop manga colouring. The hair was almost exactly the same colour as this. I think it was a little bit more purple though. If anyone hasn't guessed already, my favourite colour is purple. I've used the paper I actually printed this one out was it was actually a mistake. I wasn't supposed to print it on this, but it was in the printer. It is the Nina Classic Crest Solar White. This is the 80-pound one. And I found that you can use pencil on it, obviously, because I have, but there's a lot less tooth, so you don't need to put as much effort into it as you would, say, using the quill paper, which I normally use. But you've just got to be a little bit more careful on it because you can put too much on and you won't be able to blend as well with it if you do that. So you can put too much pressure on the tooth straight away. So I'm still just marking out these white areas again, just softening off the tooth, flattening the tooth, whatever. Making it look smooth. There you go. Just go back out a bit now because I think we're pretty much done. Just making sure those white sections I've left there. I think I'm done. I think I do need to just deepen up some of these shadows. I've got the darker color, the Caput Mortuum Violet, which was 263, sorry. I'm just going to go in and make sure the shadow areas down the bottom are dark enough now that I've filled out most of the color. I'm really just going in over the top to make sure that the lighter colors just haven't lightened up those shadows too much. You could also go back in with a little bit of black or a dark gray to do the same kind of thing if you found that you needed a little bit more. I think my shadows are pretty good. So remember that when you're darkening up your shadow areas, you're actually lightening up your highlights by doing that. So there was some darker hair just at the back there. I've just gone in there. Just here at the front, I'm just going to deepen up that again because I think it's lightened off now a little bit. We're going to finish off her face too. I'm going to use that Caput Mortuum Violet in the eyebrows. So I'm just going to go over and I might actually just sharpen that a little bit. The video will be available to watch after, so don't stress if you've missed the start of it. Just sharpened up my pencil. I'm just going to come in and flick that through there. Creating those little hairs on the other side as well. I'll just move in a little bit because we're so close up there. I'm just flicking that out. Randomly, trying to keep it looking like hair. Kind of do animal hair the same way. And I'm going to put a tiny little bit of the light red violet in there as well. Just over the remainder of the grey. And I will zoom out. We're done. Sylvia, I always go back in with the darker colors. I try to, if I remember, to deepen up those shadow areas, because once we've done those lighter colors, some of those areas become quite light and I want them to stay dark, because if they're not dark, the highlights won't stand out as much and you won't be able to see that there's depth through them if we don't just sort of go over them. Just around the berries there was a little bit of lighter colors, so I've just gone back in around those just to deepen those up. But yeah, I'm happy with that. How about you guys? Any questions before we finish up? I'm going to go back in with my colorless blender to the full blender and just make sure the rest of that tooth's flattened off. The reason that I do that is because I'm going to be scanning it in and the scanner picks up all those little fine bits of tooth and it looks a little bit rough sometimes, so I make sure that they're nice and flat before I do that. I've seen a couple of people who watched last week's video and got really excited and went off and did another grayscale and it came out really good. So I'm glad that you guys are getting a little bit more confident in it, and it really isn't as scary as you think. But I'm extremely happy with how that's come out. So just before you go, if you haven't already, make sure you click the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, make sure you click on the subscribe button, and there's also a little bell if you want notifications when I upload new videos, so you'll get notifications for that. Also, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Vero, Twitter, all of those. If you're going to come along and join the group, make sure that you answer the questions first so that you'll be let in. And have a look at all the rules and things like that as well. Also, Christine Karron's beautiful images are available on Etsy, and I've got all of the links for her down in the description as well. Also to her colouring group as well, so you can check that out. Any other questions before I run away? Thank you, guys. I'm so glad that you liked it. Sorry it took that extra time too. I do like to try and make them a video only an hour, because otherwise, yeah, I get sore sitting here for that long. But also too, you've got other stuff to do throughout the day. So, all right, guys, see you later. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you in a week and a day, because obviously we're doing it on the Friday, not the Thursday next time. Thanks again, guys. I'll talk to you very, very soon.